This video is dedicated to the life and works of Martin Scorey. Martin was a British contemporary artist, sculptor and innovator. He started life as a boat builder, but he soon became very well known as a folk artist, a marine beach artist inspired by everything around him, as well as tribal art, natural history and even motorbikes, as you'll soon discover in this fascinating chat with Martin's wife, Natasha, and his great friend of 20 years, Charlie Wallrock. So, tell us about Martin.
Where to start? He was an incredible man, really. He was loved life. He was a very optimistic and positive man, always looking forward, moving forward to the next thing. And he loved creating things. He loved working with wood. I think, he just seemed to feel it. He worked with wood tools all his life. He started as an apprentice boat builder, so learning really traditional woodworking skills. And I think all the interests that he had in life, and there were many, there was always something new that he was interested in that would inspire him. And so you see a kind of eclectic mix of everything that he created, and he was just passionate about it. He loved meeting people who were passionate about a subject and had a huge amount of knowledge, and he tried to absorb as much of that as possible, I think, throughout his life. And he never lost that, I guess, that kind of childlike curiosity you have when you're younger about subjects and people. And he never really lost that. One of the reasons why I think he loved going to see Charlie and talking to Charlie was because he really respected him, his passion, his knowledge for his subject matter. And so he used to sometimes, I think Charlie sometimes probably wondered, why is he here? But he just loved going to talk to Charlie.
It's funny because I met Martin only 20 years ago, and I wish I'd met him 40 years ago. And I cannot remember the reason I met him. And the only thing I can think it was possibly someone told me there was this crazy bloke, local, making whales. And I said, what sort of was it? And he made these amazing humpback whales. They were carved out of the solid, and then he decorated them in blues and whites. The blues very similar to the blues and whites you see here particularly. Yeah. And I bought 3 of them and sold them. They all went to Australia. And then we had this fantastic relationship ever since then. It was a kindred spirit, really. Even though I was doing something different, I was a bit more commercial than he was because he was far too arty for me. But he was very inspirational to me, even though he was that much younger, in making things like this table and this table, because we used to talk about blokes do about this stuff. Yes. Go for yet again another bacon sandwich, which you're not meant to know about, and talk about how interesting it was to make things and rather than throw things away. I mean, he was a super guy for keeping stuff. Nothing got thrown away, and he turned nothing into something, as can be seen 1,000 times over. And this is really a great legacy of his work and his ideas, his creativity, the man himself. And
I can see why you were drawn to him, but just your description, Natasha, of him, I didn't meet him, but I know instantly that I would have loved him.
Oh, you had a
just
great
like
time.
you obviously loved him.
He was great.
Because you're very similar, Charlie. You have a wonderful childlike interest.
Thank you.
No, the nicest. Genuinely,
never left school.
Yeah.
It's a great compliment. Picasso said that every child is an artist, but when they grow up they forget how to paint. And you have not forgotten how to find interest in everything, and Martin was obviously the same.
Absolutely.
The difference is I'm no good at painting and Martin was brilliant.
Martin said he used to say everybody can do this, and I'd say no, they can't, Martin, you've got a skill and nobody. But he said they can. It's just that as you get older you get afraid to fail or afraid to embarrass yourself, and he said you shouldn't. No, just do it.
That's right.
And and that's just what he did all the time. He encouraged anybody who wanted advice, or if they were starting out, he was happy to pass on any knowledge or encourage them He would always say to people, go self-employed, do what you love.
Yes.
It's what they say, isn't it? If you're passionate about something, you won't feel like you've worked a day in your life.
No, that's true. And that's how he felt?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
What about the commercial side? Did he enjoy that side, the selling? And
No, absolutely
he was useless.
Not. He would sell enough to pay his bills and get,
yes.
and make a living, but no, that wasn't what drove him.
No.
It was the creative side. He was just inspired by so many different things, and his mind was always, what am I going to make next? What can I do with this? How could I use that? And so he was always driven to make, and that he was absolutely his happiest when he was in his workshop making. But similarly, he also, he loved antiques, and when he was an apprentice boat builder, he bought his first house when he was about 20, and realised he couldn't afford to furnish it. And the kind of old boys, as I say, that he worked with, introduced him to antiques auctions at auction houses at that time. Yeah. And I think that started another passion of his. Yeah. And that also inspired him, because if you look at things like his Captain Ahab chair, that is taken from a kind of primitive Windsor comeback.
Right. Yeah.
So he just. Yeah, he definitely had a love of life. He was a lot of fun, very encouraging, and just did an amazing body of work.
It's important to know one thing. He did his apprenticeship with Camper and Nicholson's, who, in those days when I was a lad, Camper and Nicholson's were the byword for the best of wooden yachts. Just beautiful workmanship, old school. He would have done a 5-year apprenticeship probably on the bench with some of the oldest guys that could make things through eye. They didn't have to have a plan, and they'd just make it with their eye, and just workmanship like you just don't see today.
And you can see the nautical themes cropping up all around, can't you, with the fish and the whale bones.
Yeah.
So very much inspired by the sea. Was it very local to here?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right on the coast then.
Forest,
yes.
Yeah. And our first date actually was beachcombing.
No more detail. No more detail.
But yeah, he had a company at the time, and he would make like driftwood thrones and all sorts of things. Tables. You've got one of the tables here, and so and we would go through. But it was amazing when you would go with him for a walk, because most people, you walk down the beach and it's very nice, but he would instantly see things and pick up a stone that that looks like an eye.
I'll use that.
That looks like an eye, yeah.
Yes.
I'll use that. Or that looks like teeth. I could make a monster's head, because they look like teeth that would be in that.
What a mind, imagination.
And he saw, absolutely, he saw shapes and things as you were going along, and he'd point things out. Like you could walk the dog through the forest and he'd see how a branch had broken. He'd say, look at that, it looks like there's a kind of monkey sitting on the branch and that's the tail hanging down. He kind of had that imagination.
And that's just a natural thing. He was born with that, wasn't he?
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow. Excuse me. Siri's misbehaving. Well, just look at these spoons. I mean, who would do that with wooden spoons?
No, I know. It's very clever.
Just fantastic.
It's just very clever. Yeah. Incredibly artistic, quite obviously. Yeah. And the way that he puts these things together with his fish there, and the way he's painted it with a piece of driftwood, it just looks all in sync, doesn't it?
I think so.
Yeah.
This is a great legacy to him and his skill and the man himself.
Now, what about these helmets? To me, the helmets don't seem to fit with Martin's general work.
But this is the thing, he was interested in so many different things, and he loved vintage motorbikes.
Right.
He had an old Norton
they did
cafe
then.
racer. Yeah, he had an old Norton cafe racer at one point.
Did he?
And he loved things like vintage workwear, and so he was just thought, I know, I'm going to make. So he made the wooden form underneath, and then set about decorating them.
Do you think? How many times did he go and watch Flash Gordon? Must have gone an awful lot of times.
Just a bit of inspiration there.
What was the guy's name?
Who's the big guy? Brian Blessed.
Brian Blessed.
You could see him in one of those.
Absolutely. Take you up through the spaceship. Try and lift one.
Mind you, I did tweet already a picture of you wearing one. That went down quite well, actually.
Thank you.
People thought it suited to Charlie. So what are you doing now with... Is this the whole body of work that Martin has left, or is there more?
There is
There's
more.
a
but,
bit more.
Yeah, there is more. Yeah, I mean, I think trying to promote and hopefully, sell some more of his
So
items.
we put this together. I put this together for Natasha to one, it leaves a nice legacy. Two, there's an awful lot of it.
Yeah.
And we're going to try and sell some of it.
Yeah.
One, to promote his work,
Yeah.
because he's no longer here to make it, and to raise some money for Natasha.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wanted to do it for an old friend.
Marvellous. It's a lovely thing to do. And you love the stuff, Charlie. And we were talking about this earlier on, in fact, Natasha, that how one of those helmets or the fish can sit on one of Charlie's, early 19th century mahogany side tables and just look rock and roll.
Yeah.
Just, it works, that modern art and the traditional antique pieces that Charlie's known for. It works. And I can see that you're very enamoured with it.
I love it.
Yeah.
And and as I said, Martin gave me a lot of inspiration to be brave enough to make these. It's not his work. It's very straightforward, but it works so well together. So
this is one of your tables, isn't it?
This and
so because of Martin, he gave you the inspiration and the bravery to put this table together. And by gosh, you've done a very good job of it.
Yeah.
Did Martin ever see
Don't
the
break
table?
it.
Yeah. Is
No,
it
he
that
didn't.
firm?
Actually, he might well have done. This hasn't been seen for 7 years. The last time I got this out of the crate, it was in Palm Beach, I think.
Oh, I see.
So we're pre-lockdown, and it's been in a crate ever since.
Right.
So this was the opportunity, and inspired me again.
Yes.
I said, guys, let's get this out and we made a fish tank out of this table with all Martin's fish under here. You'll film it later.
Yeah.
It's just fantastic. You imagine that in a Palm Beach house overlooking the ocean or Cornwall or somewhere where it would fit in well. Fabulous.
And during Martin's lifetime, where were his pieces being sold?
Mainly it was word of mouth, and he'd have antiques dealers and he'd have interior designers come to the house, and sometimes they would want things bespoke and other times they would select something that was there. But his pieces, like the humpback whales, as Charlie said, some of them went to Australia, some of them went to America.
Yeah.
He had some swans as well at one point, and they've gone around the world as well. So pieces do. I mean, it's quite surprising to us that you find that where they end up.
Yeah.
So mainly it was just word of mouth. He was never, he never set up or had a gallery show or anything like that.
No.
But
he just loved creating.
He loved creating, and he made friends with a huge number of people. Like Guy Taplin was one of his friends, and I think they just bonded over their love of making things, and of course both working with wood. It was
Like all these great guys, they needed a commercial head behind them. And he should have met Ken Bolan at Talisman for 25 years, who's only 30 miles away from him.
Yeah.
And Ken's seen this work and fell in love with it. He said, why didn't I see this years
Yeah,
ago?
yeah.
And he would have been a great foil, those two together. Would have been no stopping them.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
There's an opportunity for people now to see Martin's work and actually to buy it. So are you going to be selling it on your website, Charlie?
I'm going to put this on the website, and we're going to start filming it now. We're going to put it on and try and sell it all.
Great.
But there is no more, sadly.
Yeah.
Of course.
So enjoy it while you can.
Well, thank you for introducing me to Martin's world.
No, thank you.